In this segment, we will discuss how to find the trim of the vessel. Trim is the difference in the forward draft and the aft draft. And if trim is greater forward, if the draft is greater forward, we consider that trim by the bow. And if the draft is greater aft, which it's not in this drawing, but if you rotated the drawing, it would be, then that's considered trim by the stern. And trim is really caused by a difference in the centers, in the longitudinal centers of buoyancy and gravity. Those two centers push, one pushes up and one pushes down, and they will, if they are offset like they are in this drawing, the vessel will tend to rotate until they are in line with each other. Now, to calculate trim, we need to know a few things that we haven't calculated yet, so we'll walk through how to do that now. Trim is found by the equation displacement times longitudinal center of buoyancy minus longitudinal center of gravity divided by 12 times the moment to trim 1 inch. And the 12 is to get us back into feet. Trim is listed in terms of feet, but we calculate the moment to trim 1 inch, which we'll do now, in terms of inches. And that's a convention based on the fact that generally it makes more sense. The numbers are more manageable for ships. In your instance, the trim will probably be measured in inches, so it'll also be pretty manageable for you that way. Now, the moment to trim 1 inch, MT1, or MTI, you'll see it in some books, is the displacement times GML divided by 12 times the length of the vessel. In this case, we've shown you already how to calculate GML. We actually calculated GMT, which was the transverse GM, but there's also a longitudinal GM, and the differences in that calculation are just using length instead of beam and beam instead of length through the calculation. And so we could calculate the moment to trim 1 inch based on this formula, because we know all the variables now. And then from that, we can plug that into this formula above and calculate the trim. But as you'll see, the central issue with trim is the differences between the center of buoyancy and the center of gravity and the arm, the lever arm that they create.